but he has built a big company that employs thousands of people. Question, how many jobs have you created?
Well, first of all, government doesn't. First of all, Chris, my point is exactly right. He has spent a career convincing Americans that he's something that he's not in exchange for their money. Now he's trying to do the same in exchange for their country. This is a fact. He talks about these great businesses that he's built. He inherited over $100 million.
Wrong.
With that money, he lost more money than
wrong. Mr. Trump,
he talks about how he wants to create jobs in America. He can start tonight by announcing that all the Donald J. Trump clothing will no longer be made in China and in Mexico, but will be made here in the United States. And on the issue of job creation, I find this interesting. The private sector creates jobs. The jobs of those of us in public service are to put in place policies that allow the economy to grow. That's the problem with the Democratic Party. They think government is what creates jobs. Government does not create jobs. Now, the way you create jobs is you make America the easiest and the best place in the world to start a business or to expand an existing business. If you go on my website, marcorubio.com, you will see a real plan to fix our taxes, to roll back regulations, to repeal and replace Obamacare, not just lines around the states. Serious policies and proposals.
Sir, Mr. Trump, I'd like you to respond. You have 30 seconds to respond. But as part of that, could you respond to his specific assertion about Trump collection clothes, which you say some of it is made in Mexico?
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person.
He has lied so much about my record.
Mr. Rubio, Senator Rubio, why don't you let him
And I will tell you this. First of all, I got a call from my sister and brother tonight. And they said, we had no idea Dad gave you $200 million. Believe me, I started off with $1 million. I built a company that's worth more than $10 billion. And I say it not in a bragging way, but that's the kind of thinking we need. Very low debt, tremendous cash flow. My financials are they're all in there with the federal elections. You've seen them, everybody's seen them. I say it only because that's the kind of thinking this country needs with $19 trillion in debt, believe me.
Wait 1 second. Specifically and quickly on the question, will you promise that you will, and how soon will you move your clothing collection, the clothes that are made in China and Mexico?
They devalue their currencies. I will do that. And by the way, I have been doing it more and more, but they devalue their currencies, in particular China. Mexico is doing a big number now also. Japan is unbelievable what they're doing. They devalue their currencies, and they make it impossible for clothing makers in this country to do clothing in this country. And if you look at what's happened on 7th Avenue, and you look at what's happened in New York with the garment industry, so much of the clothing now comes out from Vietnam, China, and other places. And it's all because of devaluation. By the way, the Trans-Pacific, if you look at the TPP, a total disaster, which, by the way, Marco is in favor of. It is a disaster for our country. It's trying to be approved by various people, including President Obama. And I'll tell you something, the biggest problem with that is they don't take into concurrence the devaluation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Senator Rubio.
And they're killing.
Wait. Senator Rubio.
The answer is he's not going to do it. And you know why? Because there are plenty of clothing makers in America. If you go on my website, marcorubio.com, everything we have on there is made in America. The reason why he makes it in China or in Mexico is because he can make more money on it. That's why he's doing it. And the second point, you see what happens again when you challenge him on a policy issue? You ask him about the economy, and the first thing he does is launch an attack about some little guy thing. Because he doesn't have answers. And he's asking us to make him the president of the United States of America.
I know.
This is not a game.
I know what's happening with the economy. You don't know it.
Well, then answer the economy
You haven't
question.
employed in your life one
But he
person.
doesn't answer
I've
the
employed
economy
tens of thousands of people.
You've bankrupted four companies.
You haven't employed one person.
You ever heard of Trump Steaks? You ever heard of Trump
You know what?
Vodka?
You know what?
All
Take
of
a
these
look at Trump
companies that
Steaks.
he's ruined.
By the way, that's
Trump
the other
Steaks
thing.
is gone. You've ruined these
Mitt Romney
He's not
came
gonna
up
make
with
America
things that were
great.
false. Totally false. And now, the funny thing is, he didn't talk
here
about
you
the
go.
hundreds of really successful jobs, the buildings all over the world that are made of
He doesn't
fortune.
even
And a lot of
look at
people,
those buildings.
he doesn't talk about that.
I have a policy question for you, sir.
Let's see if he answers it.
I will. Don't worry about it, Marco. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear Big Don.
Don't worry about it.
All right, wait.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen,
You ought to show up.
Gentlemen, you gotta do better than this.
This guy has the number one.
Mr. Trump, may I ask you, Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you a policy question. Your proposed tax cut.
That's why the people in Florida do not like him.
Mr. Trump, your proposed tax cut